Thank you for being here for this discussion with Augustí Villaronga, whose work is being shown as a career retrospective here in Rotterdam, along with Nathaniel Dorsky and F.J. Osang. It gives us a unique opportunity to see the work as a whole. And indeed, this is a type of work that kind of exists in the margins of Spanish cinema. There's a kind of majoritarian discourse about national cinemas that happens, usually the type of cinema that's exported. So in Spain, I mean, we have the kind of very typical examples. I don't even think I have to name them. And then there's always kind of a secret history of certain national cinema. And within that kind of secret history, we have somebody like Augustí Villaronga, and whose work we're going to explore and try to put it further into context today. I'd just like to maybe start with just a few facts about Villaronga, in case you're not familiar with Agustí's work. He's made 7 feature films, and several shorts and music videos, some commissioned, some original creations. A lot of the themes that he deals with are related to kind of difficult and traumatic history around Spain and European fascism. And he also deals with these themes in a way that's, I would say, visceral and aesthetically distinct, and then a lot of the ways that they've been explored otherwise in Spanish cinema. His career starts actually in the 70s, around 1976, with the first shorts. Yeah, and the first feature is in 1987, and it's a very auspicious feature debut. And it's a cult film called Tras el Cristal. And this is a film that a director starts with this film, and even your subsequent film, El Niño de la Luna, and these are films that get a lot of attention and announce a major artist working within the national cinema, and that presents difficulties as well. In fact, maybe it's even a tradition in Spanish cinema. You have these directors like Víctor Erice and José Luis Guerin, who start very strong with works that are immediately lauded as some of the best. And then how do you follow that? So we want to talk about that too in this chat, and how you think that audiences are beginning to become into your work. No, I haven't asked a question yet. We'll get there. I'd like to maybe just start with that question. I know it's kind of a stupid question, because we're all part of this kind of land of cinema, and we participate in cinema in more of a global sense nowadays. Film as a global phenomenon. But within the national cinema, what place do you see yourself? Dentro del cine español, ¿cómo?
Bueno, dentro del cine español siempre se me ha tratado como un tipo raro, ¿no? E incluso es lo que se llama un cineasta maldito y un poco perverso, y gente se ha imaginado cosas muy extrañas sobre mí. Y mi trabajo ha sido muy desigual. He hecho cosas personales y al mismo tiempo he tenido que hacer cosas de encargo, y con espacios muy grandes sin trabajar en medio.
Well, I've always been considered some kind of strange guy within Spanish cinema. They've even called me maldito.
Maudit, I think.
It's like a poet, maudit, maudit cinematographer, and even they've called me a perverted director. Really, I'm always being seen as very strange, and my work is very different among itself. My films are not really one. They're not all the same.
Maybe we could talk about, and this is a question that is related to kind of the traumatic history of fascism in Spain, and I think all of the Spanish filmmakers carry this with them, this sort of heavy baggage of franquismo, and the way that you work with it in your films is, I would say, is very visceral, very very exciting.
But I'm not interested at all in with the Franquismo, this part of the history of Spain. I use sometimes 2 or 3 times the Civil War as a background for to tell another things. I'm very interested in the when you lost the innocence in the children, and normally they are associated with the war and the consequences of the war. This is that I interested, not exactly in the bellic, the wars or the ideology. This is the thing. I try to speak in English because.
Let's go back to Tras el Cristal. I mean, for you, this is your first major film out of the bag, and how was the reception for you, and then how was it afterwards?
These films it appears in Berlin, and the first time I remember they want to beat me. People was afraid with this film, and I was a little bit astonished because I thought I was made a love story, but of course it's not a love story because it's a very dramatic thing. I don't know if you are seeing this movie, but this movie is about the clinic experiments with children in the concentration camp, and this is very strong, of course. But I was interested in the relation between the victim and verdugo, between the criminal and his victim. And it was in Spain. This film was amazing. It was not normal to do a film like this in 1980s, 25 years ago, no. And that's all.
And the next film, El Niño de la Luna, in 1989, this was a film with a bigger budget. It was a film that was going to open in all the cinemas. And so tell us about the challenges of that.
After In a Glass Case, most of the people, they say me, you are crazy, you are all of bad things. And I try to make a thing more with more light, easier, like a tale. I try to do in Moonchild. It's inspired in a book of Aleister Crowley. He's a magician, but the film is very strange. It's a little bit esoteric. I don't know. It's inclassificable. I don't know where to put this kind of film. This film was, como se dice, un fracaso. It was a
failure.
It was not success at all. He was in Cannes in competition, but it was a film strange. And after that, I used 7 years without work. I tried to make a very nice movie. I thought it was a very nice movie. It's an adaptation of a writer woman in Spain. The film was to be Death on the Spring, and I never could make this movie. And I lost my money, I lost my situation, reputation, all, and during 7 years.
But okay, so there's the period between 1989 and 1995 of the El Passager Clandestí, and situate us within the maybe we don't want to talk too much about the politics of the Spanish film industry, but what does one do when one is not working? Are you writing? Are you?
I was cooking cakes. I was cooking cakes during a time. And sometimes I try to do small documentaries, but small documentaries about museums or tourists, just do it. And when I write the Passager Clandestin, it's a French film made with Arte TV. It's an adaptation of Simenon. I didn't like a lot this project, but it was fantastic for me to do this film because it permits me it's be able to continue making movies after that.
And is it true, for example, that you maybe you can find more money in Spain to make films about Spanish subjects and Spanish history, and rather than, let's say, going a bit outside of that? Have you found that that has limited your work, or has it been an interesting challenge in your work?
Yes,
Si has encontrado que es más fácil conseguir dinero en España si la temática es
española. Sí. Okay. Probably yes. Probably it's easier. Not the thematic Spanish. If you use a book, especially if you use a book, it has a success. Then it's easier because the producer they risk more easy. It's more easy the risk. But I don't know. I don't know because I make very different things, and sometimes it's very difficult, and sometimes no. That depends.
Well, let's talk about, for example, a film like Aro Tolbukin,
Sí.
which is a film that is a hybrid film. It's taking on many different forms, and
Yes.
and shot in different formats. And
Yeah.
so that's another suddenly you've made these films, maybe a few projects that were more one could say conventional, and then
Yeah.
you go back to a more experimental form.
Oh, of course. We are three directors in this film. Lydia Zimmerman is Agracin, one is from Canada, the other is from Switzerland, and me. And we started to make a movie. And the main idea was the love to the cinema, and we use all of kind of 35 super 8 millimeters video, and we at the same time we use, for example, the language of the films in the 1940. And with something more approach to the dogma, for example,